If you want to ask in Polish, if you feel more comfortable, then obviously Conrad will translate.
Okay. So what we'll do, I've got some couple of questions, and what my plan is to start with how did you start it, about Michael Jackson, then we'll move into business, and then we get a couple of questions from the audience, if that's okay. But before we start with the questions, why did you cut your hair?
I've done loads of podcasts. I've never been asked that before, but yeah. So when you're 16, when you try and start a business off, you worry about people taking you serious because you're so young. It's hard to get people to work for you when you're 16. So I read somewhere, and I can't remember where, I read somewhere that men who had long hair looked older. So I grew this ponytail and I became famous for it. And then I got really rich. And I almost thought it was like a lucky charm. I didn't want to cut it off because I thought more my money would go. But what happened in the end is then Michael died in 2009. Michael Jackson died. And that put a massive media attention over me with Sky News and helicopters flying over the house. They all wanted to know what the hell happened. And everywhere I went, I was getting recognised. So I thought I'll cut the ponytail off and it would help the situation a bit more. But I look back at those pictures now and I think, Matt, why did you have that ponytail? But that ponytail made me earn a lot of money because I looked a lot older than what I did. Because my staff are like 35, 40 years old, working for a 17-year-old. So I was trying to stack everything in favour for me.
Okay, cool.
I didn't want to have it anymore.
This was just a bit of fun questions I thought.
Yeah, when people ask me, I say when I was in my sports car one day, it dropped off when I was driving.
Okay.
It might make a return one day.
Did it?
Well, it might do. It might
do, yeah. It might do.
They're doing a Michael Jackson biopic at the moment. There's a bit of discussion whether I'm going to go back and play my role, and I'd have to grow my ponytail back if I do that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to be doing that.
Oh, you're still looking good.
Thank you so much. I might take away your jackets instead.
Yeah, well,
Michael would have bought. You don't look like you stole it from Michael Jackson's wardrobe.
Do you know? I've actually got a jacket, and it's red color, and Dorota has bought it for me. And I went once to Progressive, and I've seen Joe, and Joe's like, "Oh, you look like Michael Jackson."
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on, but then I see like the thriller thing on YouTube of Michael Jackson, and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
What I meant was he looked scary. That's what he says.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt. So before martial arts school, before properties, who was Matt Fiddes back then, and what gave you the motivation to start the business, and what kept you going? Why property?
Why property? Well, my mentors, I said you have to gain a mentor, whether it's me or anyone else. That they always told me those things. You've got to buy property, you're not building any more land, it's a great investment on earth, and it is the greatest investment on earth. It really is. Gold is great, it's gone up 9% a year for loads of years, but it doesn't give you that reoccurring income every month, does it? And in any market, you're always going to find a deal. So property is the number one bet. I always knew. The first books I read was Tony Robbins, like I told you, and then I was heavily into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you all watched read those books? Robert Kiyosaki. And all the stuff he taught back then is still relevant to today. So for me, I just knew that was the way. And all my rich friends all own property. And you look at the rich list, it's clearly obvious. So for me, it's the number one asset class in the world, and always will be. Do you know in the lockdown, when your wives are doing your haircuts, and they're pretty awful. Who's had a lockdown haircut before? Yeah. It all grows out in the end. And in property, it's like a lockdown haircut. You can buy it, even if you get it at the wrong price, you pay too much. If you hold on to it, it will grow out in the end and go up in value. You can't really go wrong. You only go wrong in property if you sell them. And when I look back, I've sold 5 or 6 properties which have tripled in value, and I made a big mistake. You got to hold them, and keep them forever. And get your tax advantages in place and so forth, but you need to hold them forever. And then you're always going to be fine. Never sell them. Why do you want to sell them for? Pay capital gains tax. And They're always going to go up in value. Just like I said about my grandparents, they bought their house for a couple of thousand, they sold it for 250,000. They didn't even know what they were doing. So the goal in life is to get your name on as many, or your company name, on as many house deeds as you possibly can, wherever it is in the world.
How have you started? You said you were 16 and you were trying to get into business. How have you started? How have you done it back then? There were no courses. No, there were no mf.club or Diamond Property Network or any others. Did you live in Devon back then?
I lived in Devon, yeah.
So it's like the end of the world.
Yeah.
Sort of. So.
The armpit of England.
Yeah. So how have you done this? How have you raised money as a kid? And
so what I did is that no one had done it at my level, but in America, there's still some truth to it today. They're always 20 years ahead of us in technology and the way they think. And if you're successful in England, I've been to Poland many times, it's similar to that. If you're successful in England here, you get stabbed in the back and they don't want you to be successful. If you go to America or Poland, if you're successful, people like it. They want to have dinner with you. It's different mentality. In the UK, there's something wrong with people. So I used to go back and forth to America and attend conferences on property and marketing and get in the media. And I told you about 1.5 million, I reckon I spent flying all the time. I mean, one year I went 8 times to America, backwards and forwards, attending conferences. You guys don't need to do that anymore. I teach you for £10 a month. You've got Conrad thing going on. You don't need to do it. You don't need to be spending all this. The best investment you can make is in education in yourself. Read the right books, listen to the right podcasts, go to the right events, make sure the people you learn from have been there and done it, because a lot of them aren't, which I told you about, and make an effort to turn up like you have today, which is awesome to see. Because the people that haven't turned up today, they've really missed out, because Conrad's put something freaking amazing on here with you guys. And it's nice to see, after what you've gone through in the lockdown and the pandemic, it's great to see what's come back. So for me, I studied the greats that had already become millionaires or billionaires, and quite honestly, Conrad, I just copied them. And then I made what I do better. And now, interestingly enough, they come to me for advice now. So the people I copied back then and looked up to, they're in their 60s now, they fly to the UK and come and spend time with me now. So the tables are turned, because I like to try and keep on the cutting edge of all the latest property trends, the way it's going, the way I think it's going to go. My best friends are the highest net worth property investors in the UK. You know some of them. One of them is the biggest property owner in the UK, private landlord. I network with them. We have our own little WhatsApp group together. And we talk about the interest rates, what's going on in the property, best to market at. And then we pass it on to our clients. So that's how I did it. I had to do it the hard way, not like this. This is easy. You guys could just bang onto mf.club and learn from me. You come to an event here, you come to my events, you go on my Zooms and just get on to the point. A lot of these courses tell you what to do, but not how to do it. Whereas I just get into the house. This is how you do it, get on with it, and keep you accountable. And that's what you should all be told. You shouldn't be led up the golden path. Buy this course, buy this one, then this mastermind. No. You just get to it with real people who've been there and done it. And that's why I support what Conrad does.
Fantastic. So tell us about Michael Jackson. How he was as a person privately, and what have you learned from him?
Yeah, Mike was nothing like you guys saw. He made this image. So when we'd get ready to go out to a meeting, he would take flipping ages to get ready. He would go to his room, and then the makeup artist would come in, and then the hairdresser, and it would go on for like hours and hours on end. And he'd come out looking absolutely ridiculous with makeup on and lipstick on. What you got lipstick on for, man? And then he put sticky tape around his fingers. So what you got sticky tape on your fingers for? And then the worst thing he would do then, he'll put tape on his nose, like proper tape. Like, what are you doing this for? You know? And in the end, I got a bit upset because we had a big meeting with the head of the United Nations, Kofi Annan. Have you heard of him? And it was a big, powerful meeting. And Michael had a big role to play in this because we were doing this big charity fundraising thing. He kept Kofi Annan waiting downstairs for an hour and a half. Michael was still asleep. I wake him up saying, we're late. We need to be getting downstairs. And he gets up, then he gets the makeup on, all the rest of it. He comes out in the hallway, and he's covered in all this tape. And he can see me staring at his nose. And he looks at me and goes, man, don't worry about my nose. I put tape all over it. It's allergy tape. And I've done it because downstairs we've got all the paparazzi, and they're going to say my nose is falling off, and it's going to guarantee me front page news reports around the world and generate me billions of dollars of marketing over the next few days. And I was like, okay, you're clever. And then I said, what about the tape on your fingers? Are you okay? Yeah. Why are you wearing tape on your fingers for? He said, well, because if people, to be interested in you, you have to be interesting. And the fact you just asked that, millions of people are going to be asking, why has Michael Jackson got tape around? So when we used to go to bookstores, he used to put this face mask on, right? And it's ironic, because when COVID came around, I found myself wearing a face mask like my best buddy did. But he used to put his face mask on, and it used to upset me. Like, what are you wearing that damn mask for? And he learned it. He studied a guy called Howard Hughes. The movie is made about Leonardo DiCaprio plays it, called The Aviator. Have you seen that movie? And Michael had his wisdom teeth taken out, and the consultant, dentist, said, you could have an infection. So he gave him a surgical mask to wear. And he just felt it gave him a layer of protection from people staring at him all the time. He put the sunglasses on, that mask on, he just felt like he had a bit of privacy, because everyone's always staring at him, taking pictures of him, filming him, and so forth. And he also generated big publicity, so like Wacko Jacko's wearing a mask. He thought, So we got all these masks made in cloth, different colours, and he used to put it on. He used to generate billions and billions of pounds worth of publicity, and people used to wonder what's behind the mask. And it was all a big publicity stunt, which he learned from Howard Hughes and from having his wisdom teeth out. So the guy was a complete and utter genius. Nothing like what's happened in recent years, all this nonsense and stuff. And we spoke about it recently. And I would not associate to myself to a guy like, I think you've all seen it now with Andrew Tate, Philip Schofield, Russell Brand, the takedown of mainstream media. If you get too powerful and popular, they want to bring you down. That's why things like this, podcasts and stuff, are a thing now. I don't bother with TV that much anymore. I'd rather go on. You've seen James English's podcast. I did a big interview with him for 3 hours. Got 17 million people downloaded it. And no editing. I can say what I want to say. And I think Michael Jackson was the first Me Too victim, the first person for the mainstream to bring him down. He owned half of Sony Music. He was a multi-billionaire in assets, but cash poor. And he got too powerful. And he had fallouts with people on the way, like Eminem made a song about him, and in a music video where he took his nose off. He had a Michael Jackson lookalike in it, and he threw it across the bed, and the little boys around him. And I sat next to Michael saying, are you going to sue this guy? He said, no, it's okay. So I'm really sad because I admire Eminem as an artist. He did nothing about it. And then a few months later, I hear from one of my friends, who's also friends with Michael Jackson, that Michael bought all of Eminem's music catalogue. So I sat next to Michael and I said, Michael, is it true you bought Eminem's music? Yeah. Why would you do that after he just made that horrible video about you and said these things about you? He said, well, the thing is, man, I could have sued him, but now whenever, all the songs he wrote, now whenever he wants to perform them and wherever he wants to use them, he has to come to me to ask permission, and I can say no, and I get paid on them. So his punishment, he got Eminem back by buying all his songs. He also owned all the Beatles catalogue too, which brought him in $80 million a year. So when you get too powerful, this happens. I think a lot of you have seen this now. Like Dan Wootton from GB News, he got fired with false allegations, lost his editor comment, Sun newspaper, the Mail Online. GB News had to suspend him. Got found, no charges were ever gone. There was nothing at all nonsense. Now he's going to come back bigger than ever. It seems to be a thing now. If you get a bit too big and powerful and you don't obey by the government rules, that they want to bring you down. And Michael was extremely powerful. It's fair to say, even in death, he's probably the most famous man in the world. He's in the Guinness Book. The last award Michael got was in 2006. I was with him then. Beyonce presented it to him, and it was the most famous man in the world, on the planet, by the Guinness Book of Records. So, yeah, well, it's a known thing now. This cancel culture, and I hope it will come to an end. We should all have free speech, be able to say what we want, and be successful without having to worry about things that were said or done 30 years ago coming back to haunt us. It's ridiculous.
Well, normal human beings, as we all in here, would you consider yourself lucky you had the chance to meet Michael Jackson, and is anyone in this room can meet such a highly influential, famous person?
So, I thought about this long and hard. The harder I work, the luckier I get. I had that phone call from Uri Geller at 3 in the morning. I could have gone back to bed, couldn't I? But because I want to take risks and take action, I went. Had I not gone that night, I would never have met Mike. It wouldn't have happened. So I don't feel I was lucky. Now, all of you are 2 handshakes away from anyone in the room. Funny enough, yesterday, I did a podcast, right? And just about 3 miles up the road from here, Arnold Schwarzenegger's here. I had an invite to come and meet Arnold Schwarzenegger at 5 o'clock, right now, basically, a couple hours ago, hang out with them. So I had to choose, do I ring Conrad and cancel and go and spend a few hours with Arnie, or go and hang out with Conrad in Solihull? And I chose Conrad, because it's the right decision to do. I'm very loyal. Loyalty buys you connections. I hang around with that friendship circle because I was incredibly loyal, incredibly honest, humble, hard-working, committed, and so forth. Last night, I could have quite easily bailed out on Conrad, and he probably would have understood. He wouldn't have been upset. He would have understood a little bit. Arnold Schwarzenegger's not here very often. He's in Birmingham. He's just up the road. And I could have trained with him this morning as well if I wanted to. But I know how it works, this game. You need to be around the right people. Me influencing you here is going to have an impact on your life. I hope it will. Or you'll come and be an MF Club, hang out with me in Combat at future events. Me hanging around with Arnold Schwarzenegger, I would hope he'd live it all. I know he's nearly 80 now. When I'm American, I can make that happen and future stuff. So you're 2 handshakes away from anyone in the world, especially with social media. And you saw that on Friday with Nigel Farage. Now, Nigel Farage is controversial, right? Do you all know who Nigel Farage is? I'm assuming you do, but you're Polish. I know some of you might not. So he was the guy who created Brexit. And he was in the jungle, I'm attempting to get me out of here. He's like Marmite, you either love him or hate him. And I got to tell this story. I have to tell it. So when I post about Nigel Farage, it goes viral, and I get comments from people who love him and people who hate him are quite aggressive, but they don't know him, just like people don't know Michael Jackson. So on Friday, he came along to my event. He was incredible, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. Talking about what the government are doing, the taxation, what's wrong, what you need to do to build your own economy. Don't rely on them. But when I post about it, my VA was in South Africa. She doesn't know all the English language. And she messaged me on my WhatsApp, said, Matt, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah, sure, what is it? She said, what's a bellend? Maybe you need to do a Polish translation on that. So what's a bellend?
I'm not sure, I'm not English either.
Don't put me on the spot with this one. I don't have to explain what a bellend is, but surely.
Okay.
What's she saying?
Yeah, we all know now.
She said, give her a clap. Well done. Yeah. So basically, under the comment, someone called Nigel Farage a bellend, which is basically the end of a man's penis, right? And she asked me, and I said, what, do you want me to draw you a picture, or what? Because in South Africa, it's not a thing. She's right there, by the way. She doesn't live in South Africa no more. It's a true story, isn't it? It is. Yeah. And you've got to understand that you're going to get hated on, you're going to get trolled on if you want to be successful. And you have to push through that. The art of being successful is upsetting people as much as you want. Don't take advice of your family, your parents and grandparents, if they're from a different era. You've got to love your parents, love your grandparents, but don't take advice of them. Because they're from the industrial age, they're from World War II. They're quite happy just to have one home over their house, so roof over their heads, one home forever, pay it off, because they had bombs coming down. And they're grateful for that. My grandparents lived in the same home for 78 years. I don't know about you, I couldn't think of anything worse. 78 years in the same home. But they were grateful for that. Now, you guys are from a different generation. You cannot learn from your grandparents and your parents. It's different. We're in a digital age now. We're in 2024. The way you market and get property deals is different than what it would have been before lockdown. You need to unlearn what you learned before the pandemic and learn the new stuff. Everything you knew before the pandemic don't work anymore. You need to go into new stuff now. All the no money down techniques don't work anymore. And that's why I'm always doing my best for my clients, my franchisees, business partners, while I'm always networking with the top people who are bringing out the latest stuff, and I'm delivering it to people.
Fantastic.
You don't know what to ask me next, do you?
So, no, I know. I've got a question.
The bellend thing threw you off.
Yes, well, in a way, yes. I'm like, what's that? If you were, let's say the story repeats, but not, well, let's come to Gerald Ratner. So for those of you who don't know, Gerald has done a speech, and he was 125 million in profit in early 90s. He's done a speech, and he lost it all within overnight.
A week.
I'm not.
He lost £1 billion in a week.
Yes. So,
He's a good friend of mine.
so let's hope there is no. I don't think you're gonna say anything stupid like
No,
you
I
did
won't.
today, and well, there's hopefully no journalists in the room.
I don't give a shit. You can write what you want. I don't bother me. You do it anyway.
But let's
Was Andrew Tate called journalist? Brokies. The thing is, right, it's a win-win relationship. With Gerald Ratner, it was unfortunate because he did a story where he talked about he had the biggest, Ratner's jewellery were massive, they're everywhere. And he was cracking America. And they were wanting to bring him down. He was a billionaire, he had a private jet. He's a lovely guy, by the way, he's awesome. He did a speech, I think, at the Royal Albert Hall in London. And just one little item he talked about in the whole speech, and it was a little tiny, like a holder item. And he said, it's basically sherry canter. A porn sandwich is worth more than this, right?
Yeah,
and
the earrings.
Yeah, and it was.
The sandwiches last longer than the earrings.
Yeah, the porn sandwich will last longer than the earrings. They're cheap rubbish. And the reporter, there was a newspaper reporter in there, and he ignored all the rest of his speech, just took those lines out, went headlines, and Gerald lost £1 billion, £1 billion in a week, and was almost bankrupt, in bed, depressed, and so on. And it's quite funny, because when people interview him and say, were you upset that you lost £1 billion a week? Well, what do you think? What a stupid question. Oh, I've got people I know interviewing Gerald Ratner. What's it feel like to lose £1 billion in a week? You know, well, it's not very nice, is it? It's strange. He went through hell and back, but he went back and made billions again. And it's a good story. So it's your question.
So my question is, like, if you were to lose everything tomorrow, what would you do?
I would go. So I've learned the mistakes, which is the biggest lessons. I would start. Easy money would be deal packaging. So I would find ideal properties that have the right cash flow return, motivated sellers. I'll charge $3 to $5 grand to go and supply them to investors like you, and do 4 or 5 deals of them a month to make 20, 30 grand a month. Then I'll start buying houses again, get my name on deeds again, keep doing that until the cash flowing out. And then once I've got really good at it, I'll teach you how to do deal packaging, so you can go and find the deals, charge for courses for it, and make it all back again. It's not that difficult to make money. It's harder to be poor. People find it's harder to struggle financially than it is to get rich. It's easy to be rich, but they don't teach you this at school, do they? They want you to be broke. And I don't agree with everything Andrew Tate says, but he does have a point. We've got broke people teaching our children at school how to get rich. It doesn't make any sense. That'd be like you taking your children to a swimming instructor who doesn't know how to swim. Who would do that? Nobody's going to do that, you know? Yeah, that's what I would do.
Cool.
I'd have it all back again within...
Okay, so there'll be a last question from me, and then we'll go to a couple of questions from the audience. So you are in property and you are in business, franchise business. What would you say to do? What's better, property business or the business in general?
So you need a combination of the both, because when you have the ups and downs, like, I mean, we're not in control of our own, of the Bank of England base rate. It could potentially be 10, 15%, just like that, like it was in 1989. Who got hit by that? Because I was only a kid back then. So who can remember 1989 when it went up to 18% base rate? Yeah. You don't look old enough.
It was 14.75 when I had my first house.
14.75%. You imagine that? So that could potentially happen, and that takes somebody in the government who knows nothing about property, nothing about private investors, and hit a button and it's done. So, what's the question again?
Yeah, what would you prefer? Property business? Property
So what you need to do, you need to have a combination of the both. So when we had this, we've had the biggest rate hike in 15 years, haven't we? And it's happened over 18 months. We've gone from 0.1% base rate to 5.25%. Fast. They should have done it slower, but they haven't done. I'm okay. I've got my big cash flow business there, which I can always be all right. If you don't have that, I see a lot of landlords who are trying to sell quick and get out when you need to ride the storms through. The ones that ride the storms through are okay. So you need to have cash flow business, something you love to do, whether it's coaching or mentoring, online business or whatever it may be, and then have your property as your main source. So one is there for the other. So when one goes up, you still got this. And when that goes down a bit, you still got this. And when you buy property, you mustn't look at buy for hoping it's going to go up. Whether my property value's got up or down, I don't care. You've got to buy them so they cash flow all the time and lock them out. And wherever the market is, whether it's 5%, 10%, 15%, you can all get a deal that'll make it work or stack up. You just got to know what you're doing. So I prefer property, but you need to have that backup cash.
Okay.
Right. Service accommodation, rent to rent, that could be your business.
Perfect. So who would like to ask questions to Matt?
I think Joel was first.
Mike, Joel was first.
Yeah.
Matt, it's been wonderful listening to your story.
Thank you, sir.
Great inspiration. Just a sort of two-pronged sort of question. Who has been the most single, influential person that's affected you in your life?
Comrade. No. There isn't a single one because there's different aspects of your life. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think he's a legend. He conquered bodybuilding. He conquered the movies, biggest movie star of all time. Conquered politics. And I don't know if you all know, he's one of the biggest property owners in California. He owns apartment blocks. He owns super malls and so forth. So I've read all his books. I've read all Donald Trump's. I'm a big fan. I don't get into politics and all that stuff, right? But business-wise, that guy, if you read all his books, Trump stuff, fantastic. I love that. Robert Kiyosaki, I've read all of his books. I agree with everything he has to say. I'm trying to think if there's any others that were good. Tony Robbins, I do. But the trouble with Tony Robbins is great, but you can only pump them and motivate for so long. It's okay to do it and understand the concept of how the mind works, but wealth creation is something a little bit different because you are going to hit times where you're going to go through a divorce, one of your kids are going to be sick, you're going to have problems, and you're not going to feel motivated and so forth. So you need to be around people. But I think my greatest person was my granddad, who was 7 times Irish weightlifting champion, and he was picked for the Rome Olympics in 1960. He actually trained with Schwarzenegger, and he always believed in me, even though I had no qualifications or anything. He had 14 kids, and he believed in me as his grandson that I could do this. He took me under his wing because he saw my athletic drive. Obviously, my martial arts instructor believed in me. At school, I was getting told, I'm no good at this, I'm no good at that. Okay, I'm not going to pass my GCSEs. I failed on my GCSEs. I can't write, by the way. I could just sign my name. They thought I was right-handed. In fact, I was left-handed. By the time they worked it out, I was 13. They tried to correct. So I don't need to write. I never had to. I just sign my name or do an autograph. That's it. When I get to hotels, it's even easier now. Actually, it's all on iPads. But I just hand the forms to my wife. She fills it out, and I sign my name. I was embarrassed about that for many years. Now I tell it, and it motivates people. So I have several mentors who I look up to for different aspects, for health, personal development, motivation, wealth creation, and who I study. And I think all of you need to get that right on who works for you. You're not just going to have that one person who's going to be an end-all of everything. So for me, and my mum too, sadly I lost her to breast cancer when she was 56. She was my rock. She had 4 boys. I'm one of them, the oldest one. And she died of breast cancer at 56. I was 32. And she had this thing she used to say to me, there's no such word as can, Matthew. I know you're not going to GCSEs. She had a bit of belief in me. Even though all my other aunts and uncles got university degrees and stuff, she had this belief that I could probably work this thing out. You can do what you want to be, just keep at it, there's no such word as can. And even though she's gone now, she's been gone 13 years, it still hits me that, I remember Mum saying, there's no such word as can, Matthew, you can do whatever you want to be. Don't listen to your dad, don't listen to your grandparents. You can make it happen. So I think I got several. You've got to find what works for you. That's a good question, by the way.
Yeah, I think you've answered some, part of the second question, which I was going to say to you. Who, unless you're sorted in the end, you can't say who.
Yeah.
Who is your one mentor that you, or you say you've got several mentors now?
Yeah, I mean, the trouble is now, there's so many fake ones that I don't really buy into it because I know too much about what goes on behind the scenes. And I won't name them because it's not fair. I don't really have one now because I'm at a level now where I'm worth a lot of money, and I don't need any more money. I'm going to be a billionaire by the time I'm 50, but that'll naturally happen because of the course I've got going on. But I network with the right people. The people I hang out with every 3 months, we get together in King's Cross in London. They're all 50, 60 million plus. And I try to get in rooms where I'm the poorest person in the room. You know, Donald Trump is best friends with Nigel Farage. I'm best friends with Nigel Farage. Nigel's invited us to his birthday party, 60th. I'm trying to hang around with Donald Trump. It will happen at some point. He promises me it'll happen. You know, I was a bit worried last week because he was with Donald Trump on his Instagram in Mar-a-Lago in Malibu. And I'm thinking, is it Malibu, Miami or something like that? I'm thinking, geez, this guy is going to go from Donald Trump billionaire in this incredible palace or a mansion to a little town called Tiverton in Devon. Is he still going to turn up? And he turned up. But yeah, for me, I keep my eyes open, but honestly, you get to a level where you can have too much information overwhelming you. So for me now, it's building. I know what to do. You don't have to overcomplicate it. You just got to keep buying houses and renting them out and generating income for the kids. It's all about the kids now. I've got 6 kids. It's all about Zach, Hero, Miela, Madison, Lola, Savannah, and who am I missing out? Madison, Lola, Savannah, Zach, Hero, Miela. It's all about my kids. Because I think, honestly, people made billions out of the pandemic. Billions, online companies and Amazon. There will be others. There will be lockdowns again. There will be global warming. I reckon they're prepping for. Well, Nigel Farage tells me it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So it's our duty as parents to get enough money so that they don't have to worry about their future and their kids don't have to worry about it. And that's what motivates me. And teaching people out like you guys to do this, because no one else teaches this. They bullshit you through it, and you don't get taught at school. And if you go and learn business at school from a university graduate. So if you go to university to get graduate to get a degree in business, you're getting taught by a lecturer who's never owned a business before. Why don't people understand this? You're getting taught to get a business degree, you get £50,000 in debt, but being taught how to run a business by somebody who's never owned a business before. It's freaking wrong, isn't it? It really upsets me. So yeah, that's basically it for me. So I'm kind of retired in a way. Well, not the last 3 months anyway, but.
Hello, Matthew.
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
I love your outfit.
Thank you.
You glow in the dark.
Now, to get attraction in attractions to your social media, you have to be visible, like you said. We've just joined your club, so I'll be seeing you again.
Legends.
And one question, over your presentation, you kept saying, you said it at least twice, that you will pay banks on your own terms. And can you just expand on that and banks? Because obviously when we buy properties, we at their mercy. That's how I feel a little bit. But what's the strategies to pay that off, or what's the strategy? And the second one, sorry, what you would never invest in, like what would you never invest in?
Let's do that one first. That's easy to answer. So I never invest in stocks or shares ever, because I'm not in control of it. There's someone else I don't know. That's an idiotic way to invest. Why would you do that? Give you money, hard-earned money, to someone who you don't know, and it goes down. I would never invest in crypto, Bitcoin. I know it's up at the minute. I got a friend who lost 8 million. He put 8 million, he lost it, boom. It's too unpredictable. Why would you do that when you know that people are always going to need food, water, and somewhere to live? Buy houses in history or time. So I would never invest in it. I will invest in gold. I haven't started yet, but I will do, because there's only so many freaking supercars I can buy and houses I can buy. And getting them over the line now is a lot harder. You notice that, trying to buy a house, they want to know everything about you, don't they? Everything about you. It's difficult. So I wouldn't invest in crypto, stocks and shares. I've got friends who invest in watches, but because I don't know about it, I don't go there. I only invest in things that I've been there and done it. I know it inside out. I know the property world so well. I've been working this more than anyone. You know, I mean, Rob Moore won't like me saying it, but it's true. He started when he was 29. I was already worth 13 million by then. I started property investing when I was 18. So I've got 10 years on most of them out there. And I got mentored by some incredible people. What Rob's gone on is incredible. It's fantastic. But I've gone through an extra recession. You know, I've gone through the no money down era. So I just don't do crypto, stocks and shares, mutual funds, pensions, don't do that. It's all a scam. And let's go to the bank question. So when you sign up to a bank account, in the small print, depending on which bank, let me give you an example. For every £10 you put in, they only have to guarantee you, well, first of all, they only guarantee you about 75 to 80,000 pounds. Did you know that? 85. So 85,000. Now, that's back guaranteed by the government. Do you trust the government? No. All right, so there you go. So it's not guaranteed at all, is it? Simple as that. So they guarantee, the government backs it at 85,000. They can't do it. If we had a bank run, the bank went bust, and loads did it at one time, the government's 3 trillion in debt. I can't remember what the interest Nigel Farage said. I think it's 200 million a month that the interest on the loans are. It's a complete mess. So your money's not safe. Now, when you put your money, say you put 100 grand into the bank account, for every £10 you put in, they are allowed to invest £9 of it in whatever they want. So if you go to a bank right now, so if I went to a bank on Monday morning and I said, I would like £25,000 of my own money out, please. What do you think is going to happen?
You have to wait.
Yeah, first of all, they ask you a question. What's it for? What the hell has it got to do with you? What's it for? What are you going to do with it? How did you earn it? We don't have it. What do you mean you don't have it? It's my money. And then you have to order it in the hope, and sometimes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I got a friend who tried to get £250,000 of his own money out, and it's been 7 weeks now and he still hasn't got it. And he's panicking. So the banks take your money, and what do they do with it? Invest in property, you got it. So they take it, they invest in property, and that's quite cool, because that means if they invest in property, you know that's the number one investment in the world. That's the way I look at it anyway. So the key to doing it is you've got to keep as little money in the bank as you possibly can, and borrow from the banks, and play them at their own game. So I've got millions of pounds in mortgages, and I use that to leverage. So I borrow from them. I take their money from their clients and all their investment money. I borrow it from them. I make money between the interest-only mortgage and the rent. And I keep doing that as fast as I possibly can. I'm ruthless with it. Keep buying and buying and buying and buying. Taking out these loans all the time to play them back at their own game. Because I don't trust them. And if they go bust, this has happened to me, by the way. And I won't say which mortgage company it is because I don't want them to come at me. But I had a £370,000 loan about 12 years ago. And it was for a big property, obviously. And the bank went bust. And I got let off the loan. I got a property for free. And up until this day now, it's about 40 years, they've never come at me for the money. They don't exist no more. They went bust. That is a reality that can happen to all of you. So if you owe them money, like Donald Trump says, right? If you owe the bank £1 million, it's your problem. If you owe them £100 million, it's their freaking problem. They want to take you out for dinner and lunch and get to know you and all the rest of it. Estate agents want to be your best friend and so forth. So you've got to play the banks at their own game. So don't think your money is safe in the banks. It's not. Look what happened in Cyprus in the 1980s. And it's happened in the UK. You see banks went bust. I think 4 banks have gone bust in the last couple of years. A bank run is when everyone gets panicked by mainstream media, goes to the ATMs, withdraws all their money, gets it all out quick. They don't have the money. They don't have it. They've tied it up in their assets. They've got to take time. And you can make the bank go bust and you've got nothing. But if you owe them money and they go bust, hallelujah. So I want to be in debt with the bank as much as I can. But you've got to be clever with it. Does that answer the question? Do you all get it? Yeah.
Any more questions?
I've got a question. Might be a little different to the other questions. It's so nice to meet you, Matt. It was very motivational speech.
Thank you.
But because of what I do, which is kind of helping people from the psychological end, I am a poor nurse working for the fucking NHS. That's why I'm coming to...
I didn't know you could swear. I wasn't sure if you could swear in this audience.
Yes, you can.
Well, I didn't allow you to.
Oh,
That's fine.
thank fuck for that.
You've given us a very amazing story about your relationship with
Yeah.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
You worked for him for free. You must have developed good friendship.
Yeah.
And he died.
Yeah.
That's really tragic situation for everyone.
Yeah.
How did you manage this bereavement? Because a lot of people, they're not getting up from bereavement stage. What kept you going? What gave you the strength?
I was a complete mess, if I'm honest with you, because Michael had these addiction problems, because he saw doctors, when they prescribe him, he didn't see it as drugs, he saw it as medicine. So I didn't think he was going to do those 50 shows, right? I thought he would do 1 or 2, and then pretend to be sick, and the life insurance will pay for the rest. How the hell can a 50-year-old, who's seen Michael Jackson before on TV or in person? The guy is energetic. It's not like he's standing there with a microphone. He's like flipping, going at it, doing his thing. I mean, Conrad could do it better than I can. It's energetic. He used to lose 3 or 4 pounds a night in body weight because he's non-stop moving the whole time. So I didn't think Michael was going to die. I knew rehearsals were going bad. And the last time I saw him, I gave him a hug. And he was going back to rehearse, and he was like a bag of bones. I said, you've got to put some weight on. You need to do 50 shows. It was going to be 1 day on, 1 day off, and so forth. He called me on the Tuesday night before he died, because I was going to be in charge of his whole security operation and be there for him. So my family, my kids, were going to go and live with him. He hired a house out in Surrey. And we had a different approach this time. He didn't want to be locked for 6 months in a London hotel, in a hotel suite with his kids, fans outside trapped. So he hired a house out in Surrey, furnished it how he wanted to, and I was going to move in there with my kids, and my best friend, his best friend, Mark Lester. Mark Lester played the original Oliver Twist. Remember that, please, sir? Have some more? He's 65 now. He's the same age as Michael would be. And as they grew up, they were in the same magazines together. They were best buddies. He was going to move in with his 4 kids. I was going to move in with my kids. And the shows were every other night. So we were going to make sure he slept, he ate properly. He needed the money, right? Cash flow. He had plenty of assets but no cash flow. It's important to have cash flow. And I got a phone call from Mike on the Tuesday night before he died. He died on the Thursday night. And he didn't sound too good. He sounded high as a kite. And he was on the way to rehearsals. And I said, what's wrong? They're making me rehearse again. I've been doing ABC, I Want You Back, and Billie Jean. You know, most of it since I'm 5 years old. I've been doing these songs for 30. I wrote these songs, Matt. I don't need to keep rehearsing. But there's big money involved. They wanted to see Michael go through it every night, dress rehearsal. You can't do that. The guy was 50. He had arthritis, like I told you before, and he needed a hip operation. And I said, what's wrong with your voice? Why are you speaking so fast? And hi. He said, a doctor gave me a drug called ephedrine, which is like, you got caffeine. Bodybuilders would take this and dancers. It's not uncommon. They get given this thing called, it's like an amphetamine. It makes you hyper, you could perform better. And he was really, if you ever watched the movie This Is It, he's high on ephedrine from what I can see on most of it. He's not speaking properly, he's not right. You know, most of that documentary, it's a docudrama. You'll see him changing outfits, or they haven't got the full clip of him performing a song. They had to use lookalikes to do it. And to get their money back. And I said to Michael, where you going? I'm on the way to rehearsals. I need to speak to Joseph Jackson. Now, Joseph was his dad. He didn't call him dad, because of the way it was quite a strict relationship between them both. He said, I need Joseph Jackson. He's the only one who can sort this shit out. Do you know where he is? I said, yep. He's in Las Vegas. Here's his number. And he spoke to my daughter, Madison, who was very close to him. She spoke to him for about half an hour. I mean, I don't know how the conversation was. She was like freaking 6 years old back then, 5 years old. Probably 4 years old, actually. And then he tried to speak to Lola, but that wasn't going too good because she was only a baby, literally. And he came back, and I left it with him, and he asked Mark Lester's number too. He said, someone needs to come out here and sort this shit out. He asked, could I come out? But I couldn't. I had 3 young kids, got business going on, I got property deals. I can't just up and leave for Michael all the time. And I honestly thought I was going to be seeing him the week after anyway. And so he called Mark after me. He said, Mark, can you come? Mark was a single dad with 4 kids. He couldn't just drop everything and come out to Los Angeles. Then he did call Joseph Jackson, his dad. And he got his answer phone. He left the answer message to say, Joseph, I really need you. I'm so sorry for all the things I've said about you in the past. I know you've all been looking out for me. I'm being controlled. I don't know where I am. I'm being rehearsed. I'm worried about my health. Please come. And he didn't have his phone book like he should have. He didn't know really where he was, what was going on. He felt he was being forced to rehearse songs. He didn't need to. He wrote the songs. He designed the dances. Sadly, Joseph picked up that voice answer phone. He went on Piers Morgan and talked about it on the day after he died. Had he got it, he would have gone straight to California, and he would have burst through security and got Michael out of there and took him back to his brothers and sisters and so on. But yeah, it was tough for me because I got the phone call on the Thursday night from Uri Geller, his best friend, saying, the phones are ringing off the hook. They're saying Michael's in a coma. He's had a heart attack. And I said, you know, Uri, I can't keep ringing him up because he does publicity stunts. He's got the shows next week, so much for a coincidence. And he said, yeah, you're right. And he went back. And Uri called me again and said, I've got CNN, Fox News, America on the phone. They're saying he's in a coma and it's serious. I said, oh, Uri, I can't ring him. Because I used to ring him about these publicity stations. You fall in my trap again. You know, so I'm not going to ring him about this one because I just spoke to him a couple of days before. And then Mark Lester calls me and I start thinking, dear me, this might not be good. And I answer the phone. This is Michael's best friend. Mark is godfather to Michael's children. Michael's godfather to Mark Lester's children. He said, Matt, where are you? I said, I'm at home. He goes, sit down. Listen, mate, Michael's dead. So, wow. He said, I just spoke to the nanny, he's looking after his kids, and she's screaming and crying, Michael's dead. We don't know what's happened, but he's gone. And within hours, nothing was coming on the news, because no news outlet wanted to take that risk just in case it was not true. And then when the coroner announced that it's true, Michael Jackson died at the age of 50, it was all over the news. Within about an hour, I had helicopters over my house. It was freaking mental. And it was tough, because when you bereave someone, normally you go to a counsellor, and they didn't know what to do with me, because everywhere I went, Michael Jackson's music was being played, people wanted answers, everything they said about him, they regretted. All the musicals we tried to get in the West End were now being commissioned. Documentaries are being blasted out. Books were coming out within 2 or 3 days. It was incredible. And it was hard to deal with. So my doctor put me on antidepressants, sleeping tablets, everything, so I couldn't cope with it. Put me into bereavement counselling. She didn't know how to cope with it. She was crying, and I was having to give her a hug. Because I was turning up for bereavement counselling in a £140,000 brand new Ferrari 360 Spider, which was a thing back then. She's not used to that, people coming in being depressed. And he's a superstar. She couldn't understand how to deal with it. You just had to learn to live with it. And it was tough for like 3 or 4 years until I met Monique, who sorted me out, got me after the antidepressants and all the rest. It was freaking tough. There's not a day in my life now I've learned to accept it that I won't get asked about Michael Jackson. But I learned to embrace it now. What really upsets me, but I'm okay with it now, whenever they write news stories about me, before he died, it was Matt Fiddes, the multi-millionaire, business guru, martial arts tycoon, property tycoon. Now it always starts with Matt Fiddes, former Michael Jackson bodyguard. I'm a lot more than that, but I get it. I met with Alvis's bodyguard, we're good friends, and he said, I get it all the time, Matt. You know, you just got to put up with it, embrace it. It's one of those things. So, yeah, it's hard, but you just learn to deal with it. And I look back now, and I know I had a very privileged life with that. I still have a privileged life now, and who the hell gets to hang out with megastars like that? And I wondered why everyone in Barnstable hated me. I was 20 years old with a Ferrari 355, perfect body, permed long hair, worth millions. My best friends were Michael Jackson, Uri Geller, and they thought I was a bit weird. Of course they would. You know, it's normal, but for me it was normal, for them it's not. It was very strange. So for me it was the toughest time ever. And we didn't know it was coming at all. We had a few close calls where he overdosed a few times, but we never had, that was coming. So yeah, it was a shocker.
Thank you for sharing that.
Wow, that was incredible. Maybe we take one more question. We're running quite a lot behind. So we'll take one more question.
We're running behind, but we're making them richer.
Say again?
We're running behind, but making them richer at the same time.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
It's a good way to run behind.
Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah, Sebastian was first here.
You can ask.
Yes, hi, Sebastian.
How you doing?
So,
Wait for
hello, hi. I'm property investor, so
Cool.
If you could tell us what are your favorite spots for investment, because it's not Birmingham, as you said, right?
What's my favourite spot? But then you guys were going to go buy there and take all my deals.
Yeah,
Okay, this is the secret, right? So you've got to look for the pockets of areas. Forget about cities, right? They're too unpredictable. You've got to look at the pockets of areas in the UK that are isolated. So anywhere there's a town of 20,000, 30,000 people, where then there's a long, lonely road to the next place. That's where people like me and Rob Moore do really well, and all the other investors, I won't say their names, I don't have their permission, do extremely well. So avoid, you're naturally going to think of big cities, but cities go up and down all over the place. It changes, and the first place is where there's going to be terrorist attacks and stuff like that. So you go for isolated towns. So let me look around here. So Solihull would be a good one. Stourbridge would be a good one. West Bromwich would be a good one. Evesham would be amazing. That's where you want to go to. You don't want to be going anything city, because you can't make a noise there. You're up against Premier League football stars and stuff like that. You want to be in a town where you can make a noise as the property investor, go-to person. So that's why it works for me. So I would never invest in cities. And my rule to invest in has to be at least 20 to 25% below market value. And it has to cash flow when I buy. And like I said before, I don't care if it goes up and down. I just look at, if it's making me £500 a month, then I'll buy it. And if you do that 20, 30 times, you're done, aren't you? It's pretty simple.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Advice, my best investment is actually 60 meters from the nearest transport in the village called Górki Małe.
Well, they used to say location, but that's kind of like a little nonsense now. The transport links are important, but they can be shut down at you at any time. They can move a train station or move an airport. and so on. And also, I got business partners in Australia. They bought a £500,000 house. An airport's built, and airplanes are flying over the house. No one wants to buy it. It's unsellable. It's not worth anything anymore. So I think that's a bit of a myth, the location thing.
And we got examples from Devon, right? At the end of the world, very good figures, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to bear in mind transport links, but don't rely on them. Don't get too close to them, because it's been taught. So look for the pockets of areas that other people aren't doing. So we'll answer your question, the blue shirt, because I know you had your hand up at the same time.
Robert.
Yeah, you.
Robert, yeah.
Oh no,
Yeah,
the guy with the big muscles. Well, yeah. Arnold number 2.
Yeah, because they're trying to shut us down. I know you like talking, you're doing it well, and there's a lot of value, but there's some people like, yeah.
Czekajcie, bo myśmy obiecali tutaj moderowany networking, ale nie wiem, czy wiecie, że jesteśmy dawno over the time, także...
She said we're going to go to midnight and make you all filthy rich.
Okay?
Myślę, że się nikt nie obrazi.
I totally agree with her. Go for it.
Was amazing here. Thank you so much. It was very motivational. There were 2 questions. Can you elaborate a bit more about law of attraction, how you manifest, how you attract what you want in your life?
Yeah.
Another thing, how would you approach investors? So would you approach them before you find a deal or after you have a deal? And if someone is beginning already, how would you approach those investors?
Okay, so the approach to investors, I don't approach investors, they come to me because I'm well known in my field. So I get deals offered to me all the time. Conrad's seen people come at me with deals, constantly. And I just give them a reward, £5,000, £10,000, and they bring me a deal. Then they use that to own property. So that's what I do. I don't approach investors, although I do link people up with investors in mf.club. So I've got lots of rich people in there who want to get rid of their money. And if I know I can trust a certain person, then I kind of introduce them, do their due diligence, teach them how to do that, and off they go. What's the first question again?
Law of attraction.
Law of attraction. Very simple. I write down my goals. Bang, 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 bang. 5-year, 10-year plan, and look at them every day. I started doing this when I was 13 years old in my mathematics class. If you go and listen to one of the podcasts, the best podcast I ever did was James English. If you type into YouTube, James English, Matt Fiddes, you can watch this, about 2 hours, 40 minutes long, but you'll see what I did. And the manifesto, I really believe in it. I can't explain it. I don't know. But whatever I focus on is whatever I get. It comes into my life. If you focus on being negative, you're going to be negative. If you focus on being rich, you're going to be rich. And you just got to be clear on your goals and why you want to get them. What's your why? Why do you want to be rich? Why do you want to own all this property? What is the reason? Is it to have the time? Do you want the Lamborghini? Do you want the nice holidays? Do you want better healthcare? And so forth. The why has to be important. But you need somewhere, the best place to have your goals is on one of these things, on the screensaver. I've got some clients to do that. They have that. I've got my wife on mine, right? But you can have your goals on there. 20 goals. You're going to look at your day. First thing you do in the morning, a lot of you grab your freaking phone, boom, goals. Throughout the day, goals in your face. It will manifest itself. It'll happen. And you just change them up because your goals won't always go to plan. You'll have to swerve and move them. So I have them on here. I have them on your fridge rather than a fridge magnet. And off you go. And you're ready to make it, So it's pretty simple stuff. Whatever you focus on, you get. I can't explain it. We don't know, do we? I'm not a religious. I'm not anything. I don't understand it. But you can't explain my crazy life. It's like a fairy tale, isn't it? But what's clear is whatever I wrote down happens as long as I'm persistent and stay positive about it. And overcome your objections. But go and watch that podcast. You'll get a longer form answer. Because I'm conscious of the time here. I'm getting the vibe.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're happy,
Thank
sir.
you very much. That was incredible, Matt. Would you agree it was worth to stay 2.5 hours listening just Matt? Yes? Yes.
Thank you.
Matt, I've got so much, myself and I believe everyone in the room, we've got so much admiration for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
For
Appreciate
coming
it,
here, bringing your whole
legend.
family and your kids, very brave, sitting here. I'm not sure why, well, nobody said just go to the next room where our kids are, which we made a mistake.
But I want my boys to be learning this stuff.
Which
I
is
don't
great.
want to go to secondary school. They're going to get taught the wrong stuff. They're here for a reason. Boys, are you going to be rich like Daddy?
Yes.
What cars do you want when you're older? What do you want? A Lamborghini. How rich? How much money do you want to make? They get it. They see me doing this stuff. I bring them in for a reason. I want them to learn. I don't want them joining dinosaurs. I don't want to learn about Egypt millions of years ago. I want to learn about what the world's like now, what they've got to do in the future. They're not going to go to secondary school. They're going to be taught by me and come to events like this. And that's the way it is. Learn real lessons. So they get it. So it's good. Thanks for having me, everyone.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
nice time. Thank you.